It's time for the drive with Q on Sports. It's time for the drive with Q on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Now, here's Q.
Good afternoon, everyone. 4 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. It is indeed a Football Friday. What the frig Friday edition of The Drive with Q. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. We are coming at you live inside the friendly confines of the Sports Radio 102.9 FM studios, Southwest Florida's newest game in town. And we've got a very busy show. As always, me, Armando Angel Martinez, behind the glass producing the show. Keeping us on the air, 2 hours to play with. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up. As always, do not forget the 727-858-6650. That'll get you involved in two-way sports talk, bring something to the table, a lot to dissect today. First and foremost, hope everyone is safe and sound. And again, just be safe, especially down in Florida where the hurricane is just coming and going, and safety is a priority. If I can give you 2 hours of a little bit of an outlet and make you chuckle and make you laugh a little bit, then you know what? We're doing our job. But we've got a lot of NFL to get into on this What the Frig Friday. We'll open up the comments. Vince already chiming in. Yeah, there are a ton of games to get through. We got a little college. We got MLB. We got the nonsense that is the WNBA. And I got to start off with the NFL and my football Giants last night. Thursday night football, Giants against Dallas. And no, I was not fishing. Obviously, it was in the night. It was cold. The weather was shitty. So no, I wasn't. If it was 78 on a Sunday, yeah, probably where I would have been. Let me just say this. In the NFL, when you start to talk about moral victories and you have this expectation of, well, we're playing hard. We're starting to figure it out. We're getting this close. We're closing the gap. We're competitive. Folks, that means nothing. And last night was another example against a team in the Dallas Cowboys. Let's just put the Cowboys here for a second. The Dallas Cowboys are a friggin' fraud. Anyone who thought the Dallas Cowboys were going to be a competitive team this year, they're not. They're not a good football team. The Giants are worse. But last night, you're watching this game. It reeks of deja vu. It reeks of deja vu, where again, it's just conservative. It's just scared coaching, conservative play calling. The quarterback who was efficient, missing some throws that were needed at critical points of the game. Wide receivers, the inability to catch the friggin' football when it's thrown in your direction. Not running routes past the sticks. Football friggin' 101. I was texting my buddies last night. I don't want to get into the referees in the NFL. We know how the refereeing is in the NFL. The refereeing in the NFL stinks. It's horrible. It's inconsistent. I don't know what the point of is having assistants and eyes in New York if you're never going to go to it. The call on Bellinger was a horrible call. The missed hold was a horrible miss. Picking up flags, throwing up flags. It was a disaster. Even Al Michaels was getting pissed off about it. And Al Michaels was probably even more pissed because he probably had Dallas 5.5 until the kicker missed a gimme, according to him, because he can nail from anywhere for the Dallas Cowboys. But last night, you're watching this game. If you're a Giant fan, it's deja vu. You go into the locker room, all right, you're down 14-9. But in the NFL, you cannot kick field goals and expect to win football games. And this is where the conversation comes in. And we talked about this last week. Coaching in the NFL, or trying to get too cute, right? Trying to get a little too cute, or overthinking, overanalyzing. When we get into analytics, when we start to talk about gut feelings, and going with your gut, because ultimately that wins a lot of games. Analytics be damned. Analytics be damned. So you say to yourself, here's a game where the Giants are hanging around, right? Hanging around like that great line in Rounders. Great, fantastic movie. So underrated, right? Hanging around, hanging around. The kid's got alligator blood. Finish him off, Teddy, right? Teddy KGB. So the Giants are hanging around and they're not playing bad football. They're not playing lights out football, but they're not playing bad football. So you go into the locker room. All right. Giants have cut the deficit. You're feeling pretty good, 14-9. You got to punch it in. You got to punch it in. You got to punch it in. You have to. You got to punch it in. They have a really nice drive coming out of the locker room, and Jones is just placing the ball, and they're running the ball a touch, I say, a touch. But he had some really nice throws over to Tracy, over to Neighbors, who's a beast. Robinson made some plays. Then you get into the red zone, or as Coughlin called it, the green zone. And this is where coaching sometimes comes into play in the NFL. This is where being creative, a creative play caller, comes into play in the NFL. You got a 3rd and goal at the Dallas 9, and you throw basically a little out to Robinson, and you're asking him to make a move on the sideline and beat 2 guys. Not happening. So now you got a 4th and goal at the Dallas 3. 4th and goal at the Dallas 3. You're at home. You're 1-2. You're down 14-10. You realize that we might not get a lot of shots down here, but we got a quarterback that's slinging it a little bit. We have viable options in Neighbors and Robinson and a tight end that's kind of been disappearing. The offensive line is doing what they need to do. And what does Brian Daboll do? What does this coach, who won over the hearts and minds of Giant fans a couple years ago because he went for 2 on the road to open up the season against Tennessee? Extra point be damned. We're going for 2. Saquon, use your legs, use your guts, use your heart, punch it in. And the Giants win it. And it set the tone for that 2022 season. What does this coach do? This coach turns around, 4th and goal from the Dallas Cowboys 3. A team they haven't beaten in a friggin' decade. They haven't had a monster win since 2011 Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. And he goes for the field goal. He takes the 3. There's no guts. There's no guts. There's no balls. There's no stones. And I've been racking my brain, man. I've been racking my brain with this because all my buddies have theories and they've got opinions on this. Look, if you don't trust your friggin' quarterback to make a play, then you shouldn't have signed him to a $160 million contract. If you're showcasing your quarterback out there, okay? If you're showcasing your quarterback out there because you want to show his limitations and say, well, I told you, this guy can't get it done, then that's on you, man. Like, that's a horrible look. Let's just dink and dunk, dink and dunk, dink and dunk. Because at the end of the day, we know Daniel Jones can't get it done. We know he can't get it done. Like, we know that. There's a handful of quarterbacks that can get it done. Daniel Jones is not one of those guys. And it's not like Daniel Jones played poorly last night. He didn't. He was efficient. But there were plays that he needed to make, i.e. the free gimme that you never see in the NFL, you underthrow Slayton, i.e. missing Singletary in the flat, i.e. trying to lead Robinson. You know, and if Neighbors catch the ball on the sideline, he probably doesn't get concussed. But in the end, it's another 20-15 loss. It's another loss. It's another win by the Dallas Cowboys over the Giants, who fall to 1-3, 0-2. They suck in prime time. And my problem today, and it's something we talked about last week with Sirianni and the Eagles, something we talked about with Antonio Pierce and the Raiders. It's something we talked about, Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens. Sometimes you're just overthinking it. But you cannot coach scared in the NFL. You can't. You cannot coach scared in the NFL, because if you coach scared in the NFL, you're not going to win football games. You're just not. And I've been arguing this again. I've been arguing this so many times, back and forth with my friends, going back and forth, talking about this, debating this. And I've come down to a couple conclusions. I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, okay, if you really believe that you've got playmakers on the roster, why are they not getting, like, for instance, Hyatt? What's going on with Hyatt? Like, what's going on with Hyatt? Why is this kid not getting snaps? Why is this kid not getting reps? What's the problem? What's going on? Is he not performing in practice? Is he dropping balls? Is he not running routes? Is he banged up? You got to watch an anemic offense like this, and you're supposed to have explosive players. I saw last year Taylor hit him deep for a touchdown. I think it was against the Rams. If you don't have confidence in your quarterback, then sit him. Sit him. Because what's going to happen is when they're 1-6, 1-7, and they bench him, put him in bubble wrap so they don't have to pay him an injury settlement, and the Giants win their 5-6 games, it's going to screw him when it comes to draft position. It's going to screw him when it comes to draft position. I don't want to hear this anymore about this head coach. I don't. You brought in Mike Kafka, ill-equipped to be an offensive coordinator. He was supposed to call the plays. You pull the play calling from him. Now you want to call the plays, and you're designing plays of a vanilla offense. Why? Because you don't think you have the talent or the roster? Then that falls on the GM. Because he's the one that put this nonsense together. Like, I wasn't even mad last night. You just laugh and you shake your head. I mean, this team's in purgatory, and they're not the only ones, by the way. They're not the only ones. There are other teams in the NFL, same boat. Paid their quarterback, and they're thinking, what the hell? Cleveland Browns, Jacksonville. You might have to start to have the conversation. Cincinnati and Burrow, Herbert with the Chargers. And again, you guys are commenting, you're texting in already about I don't care about the officiating, the ref. It will never change in the NFL. You cannot hang. Every team gets screwed once or twice on a Sunday, man. Every team. Go out and overcome it and win the freaking game. Go out and win the game. That was a winnable game last night. Well, if you score two, I don't want to hear that. Score. Punch it in. Punch it in. The quarterback was efficient, but when he needed to make a throw, he couldn't. On the surface, say 29 of 40, 281, not bad. I don't even count the pick at the end of the game. Get rid of those stats. But what made Daniel Jones a good quarterback, an interesting quarterback, a talented quarterback, was his ability to scramble and use his legs, and they've taken that away from him. And I feel like this head coach is designing plays because they want to showcase his limitations, because the head coach wants nothing to do with this quarterback. It is a bad fit in New York. It's a bad fit. It really is. And the Cowboys aren't good. They're not. They're good when they play the Giants. But the Cowboys are not. The Cowboys aren't doing anything this year. The parity in the NFL is ridiculous. You know, the product, every time you throw a flag, every time you stop the momentum of the game, the games they really haven't lived up to the billing this year in the NFL. They haven't. The dogs have been putting money in your pocket, no doubt, outright. But I'm telling you, if you're a Giant fan today, and I'll get to the comments as well, if you're a Giant fan today, you got to be beside yourself, because what we're seeing right now, it's the same old song. It's the same old song. And after a while, you say to yourself, enough. This is insanity. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I looked at their schedule. Find me another winnable game. Seattle, Cincinnati, Philly, the Steelers, Washington. Maybe you pencil in November 10th against Carolina. Maybe they'll be favored in that game. Who the hell knows? So week 4 kicked off last night on Thursday Night Football. We'll go around the league. We'll do a little peek into the lines as well. You got a big game for the Florida teams, Jacksonville, Tampa, Miami, all must-win situations. I mean, can we see a head coach fired in another week down there in Florida? Is Dougie P how hot is that seat right now in Jacksonville with Doug Peterson and the Jags. So you got some quarterbacks definitely under the microscope. We'll dive into that. We'll run through the gamut. I mentioned the betting lines. We'll do Q's picks at 5:45, sprinkle on a little college football. I got some thoughts on the WNBA as well. And then how about baseball? Man, I'll tell you, it was tough to watch the A's close out that park and stadium yesterday, but I do have some thoughts on Oakland, the state of MLB. Yankees clinching the AL East. Judge is just an absolute friggin' stud, a beast. Lock it in, bookmark it in the playoffs. You get to watch Judge and you get to watch Ohtani. We already know that the Phillies clinch the NL East. But Met fans, I'm going to talk to you throughout today's broadcast as well. I mean, geez, do you want to go through that mental anguish come Monday? I mean, you want to talk about what could potentially be a wild, wacky, crazy friggin' weekend in baseball. And then you turn around, you got the double dip, the Mets and the Braves, not once, but twice. And there is so much on the line, so many different scenarios. We will certainly run through the gamut as well. But we'll open up as always, 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. That'll get you involved on a What the Frig Friday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. We are powered by our good friends over at Ion TV. They are giving you all the updates when it comes to the hurricane, the weather, traffic alerts, advisories, accidents. Give them a follow. Of course, our picks from our good friends at Fresh Roasted Coffee, Played Again Sports. And as always, we'll do our drive of the game, which didn't occur last night. We'll have it on Monday from Zen Auto Concept. So Lloyd Mann should be joining us in a couple moments. We'll go around the league with him. We'll get his thoughts on what transpired last night. Giant fans want to hear from you as well. 727-858-6650. Also, for you guys out there, a game or two, as we typically do during the Friday edition of The Drive. Give me a game or two. I'll handicap it for you. I'll give you my thoughts. It can be the pro ranks. It can be college as well. We got a lot of stuff to dive into. A very busy Friday. We appreciate you guys keeping us locked in. Do not forget, as always, you can capture us on our YouTube channels, Broad Street South, Rich Q on Q. Audio version, we partnered up with HSRN, and follow along on X as well. And I see the eyeballs. You guys are creeping up already, and I love it. We get you guys fast and furious on this Friday. We'll throw out a couple questions. We want your thoughts. We always want you guys to engage with us as well. 727-858-6650. But we do go football heavy to start the show. WNBA, some MLB talk in the 5 o'clock hour. Keep it locked in, 18 past the 4 o'clock hour. Cranking it up on a Friday edition of The Drive with Q right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontb.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
All right, 20 past the 4 o'clock hour, 727-858-6650. See what you guys are saying on the comments. John chimes in on Facebook. He made the comment that the quarterback is not making mistakes. That's because obviously the play calling is extremely conservative. But what shows they don't trust him? Dable called at least 3 shot plays, one to Neighbor, Slayton, and the running back. They didn't work. Teams draw up these plays and have one chance at executing them. Teams don't throw go routes 10 times a game. Listen, I like when they ran the screens, but again, you had bad drops, you had bad play call on third down. Again, you can't expect your wide receiver in that type of route with a little bit of space down the sideline to shed a tackler or two. Run past the friggin' sticks, taking the 3 and not going for it on fourth down shows me that the coach is coaching scared. Eli H on Facebook chimes in. Q, loving the Giant talk. I don't trust Daniel Jones at all to throw accurate passes beyond 20 yards either. What the hell happened to his arm? It's a really good point. No idea. I mean, Daniel Jones a couple years ago was actually throwing the friggin' football down the field. Now, no. I told you my theory, right? Scott chimes in. If they don't trust him, they shouldn't play him. Yeah, but you're going to play him. You're going to play him. It's going to unfold like this. When they're 1-6, 1-7, then they're going to turn around and bench him. And they'll put him in bubble wrap because they don't want him to get hurt and have to pay him. I mean, think about it. Would you rather be in that situation or have to deal with Jacksonville? Look what's going on with Miami. Right? Tampa's got the Eagles. So now you're going to see, am I going to get the good Baker or the bad Baker? Jacksonville paid all that money to Trevor Lawrence. And all we heard was Trevor Lawrence was a generational quarterback. Trevor Lawrence, right now, is just not a good quarterback. He's just not a very good, viable option. But you're not going to Mac Jones. You're going to keep trotting him out because of the money. They're 0-3. They got to hit the road against a team in the Texans that plays very good at home that is coming off a loss. One of the reasons the Texans are laying 6. You got the Miami Dolphins, who still, I don't think we know who the hell is going to be quarterbacking. I mean, if Miami, even with a backup, cannot beat the Titans at home, that's an indictment on Miami. That's a real indictment on Miami. And I'm already pissed off because I'm looking around and I'm saying to myself, what the hell happened to my Super Bowl predictions? San Francisco, they might not have McCaffrey anymore going forward, which is a brutal loss. They're banged up. And Miami has no Tua. So hopefully you guys didn't tell me with those picks. But this is where we're at in the NFL. Listen, if you have coaches out there and they are afraid to let their quarterbacks go out and throw the football, then either you got the wrong quarterback or you shouldn't be a head coach. I'm sorry. I don't believe there's any type of wiggle room in this discussion. I don't. The Giants paid Daniel Jones based on what happened a couple years ago. They paid him because he played exceptionally well. They had a really nice run late. They won a couple games that you would sit there and say, they haven't won these types of games in a long time. I mean, again, I would say the biggest Giant win against Dallas was to open up the season on the road in 2016. And I forget the wide receiver for Dallas. He turned the wrong way and the Giants hung on and they won 20-19 and they eventually made the playoffs. And that was McAdoo. And they lost to Green Bay. That was the boat trip game, right? Other than that, they've been dominated by the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott has just dominated the NFC East. The guy never loses. He never loses to the Giants. So you go back a couple years and they have a good run. And they paid the quarterback based on that run. Now, can you say the same thing about, I don't know, Trevor Lawrence? I mean, are we putting Trevor Lawrence in this category as an elite quarterback? Hell no. Hell no. But he's 24. He'll easily throw for 4,000, 4,500 yards. And Jacksonville's saying, well, he threw for 4,000 yards in 2022, 25 touchdowns, made the playoffs, had a bad loss, whatever, still room to grow. Came back down to life last year, had to get rid of Caldwell. His numbers dipped a little bit, but we're still going to pay him. Look at the numbers he's put up. Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones, I mean, one's got short hair, one's got long hair. What else is the difference? And I say it in tongue in cheek. One of them was drafted 6 overall, and Trevor Lawrence is drafted number 1. Daniel Jones is not a top 10 quarterback. The Giants are finding that out. You live and die with these quarterbacks, man. And if you don't, then you got to figure out what the hell's going on. Are you not coaching them up? Did you over-evaluate? Did you under-evaluate it? Do you have a bad coaching scheme in place? Neighbors is a stud. Robinson is good. They got a decent tight end. Singletary's a good back. The offensive line does a really nice job, but yet they can't put points up, which is just remarkable. In an NFL where, again, everyone should put up points. I'm looking around this weekend, man. You have some, I think, even though it's week 4, you've got some show me games, right? The Vikings are 3-0. They got to go on the road in a tough spot against Green Bay. Green Bay's laying 3, totals 43.5. That's a show me game for Minnesota. Love banged up or not. The Jets are at home against a young Denver team. The Jets just beat up New England. Denver is feeling pretty good about themselves because they just put up 26 against Tampa. That's a show me game for the Jets. If the New York Jets believe they are a playoff team, you can ill afford to lose at home to Bo Nix, a rookie quarterback playing on the road. And I would even go as far to say that Tampa and Philly game is a major game. That is a big game because the Philadelphia Eagles did not look like world beaters against the Saints. Saints just couldn't get out of their own way. Eagles defense played much better. Tampa Bay is coming off a really bad loss. I mean, I'm sorry, man. You got waxed 26-7 against a rookie quarterback. And if you're Baker Mayfield played really well the first 2 weeks of the season. 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. And then he comes back down to earth. Bad Baker, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He doesn't even crack 165 yards. What Baker's showing up? Now, from what I've seen, what I've read, it does look like, and I'll reconfirm right now, it does appear that, so it is official. The Eagles have ruled Devontae Smith out. Wide receiver A.J. Brown and right tackle Lane Johnson are questionable. Now, again, I've looked at the movement. I've looked at this game. Smith's a loss. If Brown is out, if Johnson is out, I would hold off. I would wait a little bit. This is a Sunday, 1 o'clock kickoff. It was 4 o'clock. You had a little more wiggle room, but the line right now is 2. So that's something to watch, see where the line closes with those injuries. Just, again, for shits and giggles, Cincinnati. I mean, what if, now follow me about these head coaches on the hot seat. What happens if Cincinnati goes on the road and they lose to the Panthers? Do we look at the head coach and say, okay, it's not working out, Zach Taylor. It's not working out. I mean, I don't believe Zach Taylor's going to be fired even if they were to lose this game. I mean, think about this. Cincinnati fired Marvin Lewis in 2019. If you go back and you look at Cincinnati, they've started 0-2-5 of the 6 seasons, right? They start slow, but I guess you can say maybe the expectations are a little different this year, even though people think they're taking a step back. All right, we'll continue our look around the league. Look at this. You decide to make an appearance on a Friday. 4:30 on a What the Frig Friday edition of The Drive with Q. And Rick Quinones here. Andrew Martinez behind the glass. We welcome in our good friend, Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football, Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game, you hear him every Monday. You catch him on BYC and Live. I'm right now. There's no doctor's note. This is maybe perhaps a suspension going forward, a benefit of the show. What's up?
What's up, guys? Sorry, you know how it goes, man. Always something coming up, but I'm here.
Hey, and that's all that,
live, baby.
That's all that matters. You are alive, and we always appreciate a couple moments, my friend. All right, so I kind of started off with last night. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I do want to. I'm throwing a theory out, and you tell me what you think.
Okay.
We know the Giants' offense is extremely limited, right? Even though they do have some weapons. Do you believe that the play calling is designed to showcase Daniel Jones's limitations? Whereas, see, this guy, and the reason I bring it up, a couple of my buddies have the theory, and I said, I'm going to explore it on the air. And I've gotten some people already chiming in. And I said, maybe it's goofy, maybe it's not. It also, the more I think about it, I think there's some substance to that because, again, we saw a couple years ago, he's throwing the ball down the field, right? There's not a lot of RPOs. He's not using his legs as much. And last night, look, man, you can't settle for 5 field goals in the NFL. I don't care if it's against Dallas or Kansas City. You got to punch it in. They got a 4th and 3 coming out of the half after they just scored a field goal, an opportunity to take the lead, and Brian Daboll decides we're going to kick the field goal. I just think the play calling is stagnant, and I'm wondering, is there a correlation to Jones's play, the play calling, and hey, let's just showcase his limitations because we know he's not the guy going forward.
Self-sabotage, huh? Well,
you know what? That's the word I threw out there as well, and everyone's like, stop saying that.
Yeah, you never know, but when I don't think they would mind getting Carson Beck or Shedeur Sanders or yours from Texas into next season because you're right. I think they're ready to move on from Daniel Jones, and Q, his arm strength's not where it needed to be. There was a couple throws last night where his receiver was deep and he could not get it to him. And I was surprised, just like you were saying, why not go for it in a lot of those situations? Taking those field goals early and not trying to put more points on the board came back to bite him in the butt. And it was a very close game. Neighbors is just dynamic. So, get the ball to him as much as possible. You saw what number 17, he had a lot of catches as well in this game. It made a lot of big plays. And unfortunately, Slayton had some couple drops that he probably should have caught, but it's just a struggle with this Giants offense. Yes, they probably have one good offensive lineman, and they've been trying to retool that thing forever. But, it was a game to be had, and Dallas's defense was leaking oil. They had no Lawrence, they had no Parsons at a certain point. Even they lost Diggs for some snaps as well. So, solid win for Dallas Cowboys. But, yeah, there was a lot on the table in terms of the Giants. And Daniel Jones, yeah, you're definitely seeing his deficiencies. And Daboll, you wonder if you bought him a beer, if you're sitting with him with the truth serum, he'd probably tell you, I'm done with this guy. I can't.
But we know that. We know that. We know that. Or is this coming from above, or they just don't trust him? If that's the case, bench him. Bench him to show you are done with him. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, they should. If they're done with him and he couldn't do things like that, the Hail Mary, that got intercepted, that ball didn't even get in the end zone. If they see these deficiencies with him and he's not getting the ball in the spots he needs to be, and they don't trust him to go for it on 4th and short, maybe turn a page, go to lock, see what you can get. They're going to have to wipe egg off their face for all the money they gave him. But you know what? It's almost like what Denver did with Russell Wilson. Say, enough's enough. We can't move forward unless this guy is gone, and that's what they may need to do.
The head coach comes out and basically talking about Darius Slade, who, by the way, has a lot of drops. I thought Slade did a good job of creating separation. He had a couple opportunities. He could have had about 5 for over 100. That is a direct shot, reference, indictment to Daniel Jones missing some throws, underthrown balls, i.e., when there was the flag and you got the rare free play. But my point is, if the head coach is sabotaging the quarterback, or if it's coming from above and you don't trust him, then bench him. Show you're done with the kid. Seriously. Because enough is enough with this nonsense. Because if they go out and they win 7 or 8 games, it doesn't mean anything in the whole scheme of things. They need to lose 13, 14, win 1 or 2 so they can get a top 5 draft pick. If not, it's the same recycled nonsense. Right?
Yes.
It's the same nonsense. And I believe it's nothing personal. I just believe the coach thought he was getting Josh Allen. They sold Dable and Shane on Daniel Jones being Josh Allen. He's not Josh Allen. He's not even Davy Jones. He's Daniel Jones. I mean, it's like enough. Like,
there were deficiencies coming out of Duke, and then he had that great playoff game. Maybe they were looking at the tape of that when he finally won that playoff game, and then they gave him the money, and he's not the right guy. And he's injury prone, Q, as we've seen in the past, whether it's the neck or the ACL. Yeah, I just feel like for the Giants, they're one of these teams, they have to get worse to get better. And you've kind of seen this in the NFL over the last couple of years. I'm not saying tank, but look at what Denver Broncos did. Look what the Chicago Bears have done. They got their guy because they were a bad team, and they kind of moved forward from there. And now you see how Bo Nix is kind of progressing in Denver, and we'll see about Caleb Williams. But, to get one of these young quarterbacks, you're right. They're probably going to have to be top 5, 6 in the draft next season.
All right, who's got the most pressure this weekend when we're talking about these teams? You got Tampa Bay coming off a bad loss. Jacksonville has been lifeless. And then Miami, man, I don't care who's starting under center. If you go out to lose to Tennessee, I mean, I believe right now, this is my opinion, I'll throw it to you. I believe right now at this moment, this is a watershed moment for Jacksonville. This is a watershed moment because if they go out and they lose 35-3, Doug Peterson's getting fired. There's no way you have back-to-back efforts like that. That is strictly on the head coach, man. And I know Trevor Lawrence is not lighting it up, but if they go out and spit the bit on Sunday, can you see Jacksonville making a head coaching change? Even we're 4 weeks in.
Huey, it's a huge referendum on this team because you don't want to say they quit, but they sure look pretty close against the Buffalo Bills. I said it was a laugher at the end, and the Bills had all their backups in, and when the game mattered, Lawrence was just not making plays. And everybody's going to say, okay, he lost some guys like Ridley left and everything, but he's got to have other guys step up for him. They got to come forward and make some plays. And you're right, this is a huge game. They're going to a division rival in the Houston Texans, and they're underdog, but they got to show some fight, particularly Lawrence. He got all that money. And now that these quarterbacks are getting paid the amounts they are, there are high expectations on them. And Shad Khan's the owner there. And two, like we talked about earlier, they have a 2-week trip where they're going over to England. And, Peterson, if they keep losing like this, he may not make it back from that trip.
I don't, honestly, they were so bad the other night. I mean, I'm not just saying it because I went on the record.
Yeah.
And I thought they were going to not only play better, but had an opportunity to win the game. They were not even competitive, man. I mean, you lose to Miami to start the season, okay. Offense does nothing against Cleveland 2 weeks. But then you turn around and you put up 10 points and you give up 47 on the road, and your quarterback doesn't even break 200 yards. Now, the quarterback does not get a free pass, okay? Let's just be honest. Trevor Lawrence doesn't get a free pass. But what is Doug Peterson's calling card? Coaching up quarterbacks, right? Getting the best out of these guys. And I'll tell you, man, if they go out and spit the bit on Sunday, and as I keep looking into this game, and I'm not sure yet if it's going to be part of my Q's picks, Texans are coming off a loss. The Texans put up a lot of points at home. We know that. They just got rousted by the Vikings. You don't think the Texans are going to want to friggin' make a statement against Jacksonville?
They are. And Will Anderson and those guys are going to have their ears pinned back because the Jaguars line could not block anybody. I mean, Greg Russo, Epinesa, even Von Miller, they were eaten against that offensive line for the Jaguars. So Lawrence is going to have some difficulty. They'd be smart to have short pass to Etienne, try to get him rolling in this one. But right now, the way I look at it, I think Texans are going to win this one. And you're going to see a more disarray for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And as you said, it would not surprise me if that seat gets even hotter for Doug Peterson. And he's got the number 1 overall pick from a couple of years ago, and he's regressed. So they had all off season to fix things, because let's not forget, Q, they had that swoon at the end of last season where they lost a division. They were leading the AFC South going into the last couple of weeks of the season. They lost in week 17 to the Texans, and then they lost again in week 18 when it mattered most. So, Peterson, he's got some work to do. He's got to make sure he fixes that offense. But yeah, definitely a bullseye on the two of them.
It's amazing how in the NFL, when you talk about juggernauts or heading into the season, how your odds can drastically change. The 49ers and the Chiefs were clear favorites to get back to the Super Bowl, potentially winning again. Now you look at the 49ers and all these injuries. I mean, first of all, if you're a 49ers fan, you've got Williams banged up, Debo's banged up, Kittle banged up, and Christian McCaffrey. I mean, that we might not see him for the rest of the season. So if you were playing player props, if you had him in fantasy, I feel bad for you. The NFL will miss a player of his caliber, but man, that is a absolute, and I know what people, you got a replacement running back there, a dime a dozen. Hey man, I'm not taking anything away from this kid Mason, but you're talking about a player in Christian McCaffrey who's easily going to get you 125 plus total scrimmage yards, and he's good for an anytime touchdown all the time, and he bails out the quarterback, right? How big of a loss are these injuries now, which are starting to mount and pile up for San Francisco? I mean, do you still give them a puncher's chance to come out of the NFC?
I do. It's crazy, Q, because the NFL's talking about going to 18 games, and you start looking at these rosters and the train wrecks that they are. All these guys getting hurt, particularly a lot of superstars that you point out, the Niners, the Eagles, the Bucks. I mean, the Chargers, all these teams are very beat up. They have like 4 or 5 frontline guys that are going to be out. And the Niners, they got a tough road. They have a tough schedule. They need McCaffrey or to come back, but it's not looking good, as you said. And then you have Jordan Mason. Okay, what's he have? And then they have injuries on the offensive line. Defense just lost Hargrave. So a lot going on for them. They got to beat New England. They got to find a way at home to beat New England. New England is a heavy underdog in this one. Purdy's actually played pretty well, but not having some of his weapons, in terms of Debo and some of these guys, that's going to hurt.
Yeah, you need that safety valve, right? And I'm telling you, man, it's the injuries when they start to pile up like that, and they hit you from all different angles. They're like body shots, 6, 7, 8 rounds. You really start to feel it. And I would not trust this team right now to come out of the NFC, which again derails my Super Bowl picks, Miami and San Francisco. They need to just desperately get a win, because I looked at their schedule as well. It's going to get a little tougher. They're going to be challenged. You got the Eagles on the road. They are laying 2. No Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Lane Johnson, as we know right now, at 443 questionable. I told people to kind of hold off on this game right until kickoff, see where the line settles. Bucks coming off a bad loss as well. Baker Mayfield, did not play particularly well. The defense gave up 26 to the Denver Broncos. They let Knicks go up and down the field. If given time, we know Jalen Hurts has weapons. This is an interesting game. I don't even look at it as, hey, man, this is a rematch last year, the wild card game. You had an Eagles team that was going down. They weren't trending up, and the Bucks were trending up at the time these two teams met. It was a pretty much almost given the Bucks were going to win the game. I didn't think they were going to rout them as much as they did in that wild card game. But here's an opportunity now. If you're an Eagles fan, you bounce back in ugly fashion against the Saints. You go on the road against Tampa Bay. You got Cleveland and Giants in Cincinnati. You can maybe stockpile a couple wins, and then all of a sudden we're looking at this team 5-2. not bad. But if they lose this game, snowball effect, lose a couple more, then we're going to go right back to where we were a couple weeks ago when they lost to Atlanta.
This is a big spot for both teams. And as I said, both of them going this one are very banged up. Lane Johnson in concussion protocol, Devontae Smith concussion protocol for the Eagles. AJ Brown's not going to play with the hamstring, still not ready. The Bucs are missing. They may miss Tristan Wirfs, who has a knee. Godwin has a neck. Winfield foot. Bucky Irving, who kind of broke out for them, their running back, has a hamstring, and Vita Vea a knee. So, it's NFL. Next man up. They have to put some of these guys in place. I know the Eagles did last week in terms of that offensive line. They brought Steen in and the kid Johnson. But a lot of times these backups, you only want them in spot situations, like week in, week out. You don't want those guys out there. That's why they were backup. You need to have their frontline players. So I think this is going to be a very close game. The Eagles, as you said, 2-point favorite. I think the Eagles find a way to win it with a field goal. Now, the key thing, obviously, is Todd Bowles and his defense. They love to blitz more than anybody. Right now, they're ranked second in the NFL in terms of bringing blitz pressure. And Jalen Hurts sometimes does not do well against that. We know he has 7 turnovers, and that's something he's going to have to fix. So I think this is going to be a very close game. Not sure about the weather either down there in Tampa.
Yeah, that's another good point too, right? Interesting because you mentioned Bowles against some of these quarterbacks and devising game plans. Listen, AJ Brown, those hammies are always, those are tricky injuries, right? And if it's raining, if it's cold, you really got to keep it warm. You got to be loose, right? I mean, you got to get it taped up, but that can affect the surface, the route running. A lot of things can be in question. No Smith. This might be a 25 touch game for Saquon Barkley, and Goddard coming off a really explosive game against the Saints. Now, granted, the one big play, you had a couple of defenders collide, but be that as it may, it happens, man. So this might be a game where you see a lot of screen passes, a lot of dump offs to Saquon Barkley and the tight end getting into the mix. And man, I'll tell you, Tampa, you got Tampa Bay coming off a bad loss. And if Baker plays poorly, you're going to have the chatter down there in Tampa Bay of, okay, this is the Baker that we've seen too many times in his career, not the Baker that signed a nice contract and played extremely well. So I think defensively, if they can force a couple turnovers and shorten the field against Tampa Bay, I think the Eagles will be able to score some points. But you got to take in consideration the weather conditions too. If it's a sloppy field, if it's raining, and the Brown hamstring injury, same with Lane Johnson. If they can't go, those are big losses in addition to Smith. Now it's going to fall a lot more on number 26.
It is. It's going to be Saquon Goddard. And then Jalen Hurts has got to be he's got to prove he's a top 10 guy, because everybody always wants to debate it back and forth. But he's got to step up and lead this team. As you said, that throw he threw to Goddard, it was kind of easy because 3 guys ran into each other. He was wide open. They saved the day there. But I think it's a lot of Saquon. And Baker Mayfield, good Baker's got to show up this week for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Floyd Van's kind enough to join us on this Football Friday edition of The Drive. We're fast approaching the 5 o'clock hour on the East Coast right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass. You guys want to get in on the conversation? 727-858-6650. I like the matchups this weekend in the NFL because even though the product hasn't been exciting to watch through the first month or so, I believe this weekend you do have some kind of like show me games, right? The Vikings undefeated, 3-0 on the road against Green Bay. Right now, Green Bay is laying 3. And listen, I love what Sam Darnold has been doing. They got a little swag. They're putting up some points. The quarterback's not making mistakes. We know Green Bay, with a healthy Love, can put up some monster points. I mean, we've seen it. They can run the football as well. And they're getting good production from the backup just in case. Now, right now, Love with that knee is questionable. That's per NFL Network. And again, here's a game where if you're thinking about betting on the game or taking the game, 1 o'clock game right now, Green Bay laying the 3. I mean, hell, you would love to maybe get the hook 3.5 and then take the Vikings on the road. But if you're more partial to Green Bay, If Love doesn't play, we'll see how that line moves. So right now, questionable. Um, I like Minnesota in this spot. I think the Vikings are legit. I think Sam Darnold is playing within himself. He's not making mistakes. They're scripting and calling plays, unlike other teams, that are fitting the strengths of Sam Darnold. And he's also showing confidence in his deep ball.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one because huge rivalry game. And we didn't think Minnesota was, when I did my predictions, I thought they were going to be in the basement of this division. But Darnold, as you said, has played very well, very efficient, leads the NFL with 8 touchdown passes, and he's getting the ball down the field to Jefferson, who's just a dynamic playmaker. Aaron Jones, revenge game for him in this one. Going back to Green Bay, I kind of agree with you that the Vikings as a 2-point dog, 2.5-point dog,
Yeah.
they have a very good chance of going in there and win this one. O'Connell's done a great job of that offense, spreading the football around to a lot of different guys, even though they don't have Hockenson. And then we talked about Brian Flores and a great job he does creating pressure. I almost sort of think that Jordan Love may not play in this one. They may want to rest him one more week. And Malik Willis is out there. You may see Flores kind of confuse him with blitz scheme and all that. So I'm definitely leaning towards the Minnesota Vikings in this one.
I talked a little bit about Cincinnati and their head coach, even though they've gone off to some slow starts. Jacksonville, we just mentioned. I think one of the more entertaining games of the weekend is going to be that 4:05 window. Hell, if it's Fox making a national game, Washington and the Cardinals. Now the total is 48.5. I would love for it to drop to 47 and play the over, but I think these two teams are going to go up and down the field. Murray's been slinging it. Daniels, we saw what he did on Monday night in kind of his coming out party on the road against Cincinnati, putting up 38 points. I think this is going to be one of your more entertaining games on a Sunday.
It is. You get 2 dual threat quarterbacks and sling it and get the ball out of their hands. And Terry McLaurin is really starting to – they're getting that connection, him and Jaden Daniels, and he's able to throw the football to him. And let's not forget, Zach Ertz kind of had a rebirth for them. They're getting the ball to him over the middle. And the Cardinals' defense is kind of susceptible. Teams have had good passing numbers against them this season. So we'll see how this turns out. But the home team, Arizona, Kyler Murray is up and down. He's a roller coaster. Last week, not so good. I think this week they're going to be able to move the football pretty well. James Conner, maybe they'll get him going again, and Marvin Harrison Jr. So this is going to be an interesting one. McBride's not playing in this game for the Cardinals. So right now, it may be a little tougher than I thought, but I think the Cardinals are going to find a way to sort this thing out. And as we said, 15 teams are 1 and 2. You hope it's separation Sunday, and hopefully – we'll see some of this movement around the NFL.
All right, a couple more thoughts before I let you out of here. If you're the Jets at home, there's no way. If you want to be taken serious, you can't lose to Denver and a rookie quarterback. But it's odd because the total on this one is 39.5. So they think defenses will have a hand in this one. But the Jets are laying 7.5. It's one of the larger lines in week 4.
Yeah, it's crazy. You're like, the Jets really? And 7.5, that's a lot of points for them. And Aaron Rodgers has been efficient. He started hitting Conklin, Lazard. They need to get Wilson going. This is a spot with Denver. They have Surtain, the second back there, and he's going to make some plays. Bo Nix played well last week, but I expect Salah to dial some things up with Quentin Williams and the rest of those guys on that defense and Sauce Gardner and kind of confuse a young quarterback. So I think the Jets will win this one. I don't know about covering that 7.5, though. That's a lot of points.
We'll do the Monday night games on Monday, but lastly, the Bills on the road against the Ravens. The Bills are 3-0. Josh Allen now has leapfrogged a couple of quarterbacks for MVP favorite. Darnold's right there as well. I'll get to the numbers in a moment. But, Buffalo, right? We thought maybe they would take a step back, but things are starting to open up. We know the Patriots are bad. No Tua with Miami. The Jets, I think the verdict's still out. And then you got Buffalo just chugging along with Josh Allen, making some big-time plays with his arm and his legs. They are on the road. They're getting 2.5 to the Ravens, and the Ravens just exploded against the Cowboys. What the Ravens did perfectly and brilliantly was run the friggin' football, something the Giants couldn't do last night. So this might be your old school kind of smash mouth football. It might be one of these games that comes down to whoever has possession of the ball in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one to watch. 2 dynamic quarterbacks in this one, as you talk about Sunday Night Football. And Josh Allen right now, he's looking like the MVP. His 7 touchdown passes, has been protecting the football. They've started to get a running game from Cook, and that's allowed him to spread the football around. He threw it to 10 different receivers in that win over the Jaguars. So, I've been back and forth on this one. I think the Ravens defense, though, they're bringing things back together. Roquan Smith and Hamilton, the rest of those guys are doing a great job. They're probably going to put some pressure on Josh Allen, and you're going to see the Ravens win this one because of physicality. The defensive front of the Bills is not very big, and the Ravens, as you know, love to run a football. Last week, 247 rushing yards against the Cowboys. They're going to look to get Lamar going as well as Derrick Henry, but I expect a very good, exciting game in this one.
All right, you can catch Lloyd every Monday night, 8 to 9 on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. Host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. Always kind enough to join us on the drive, as well as Back Your Play with Q, my friend. You enjoy the games over the weekend. We'll do the double dip when we kind of recap everything on Monday with Vance's View, Lackey Game Ball, even though we know it kind of bleeds into Monday, but we might have to update that on Tuesday's edition of BYP. Always appreciate you, my friend. Thank you, pal.
All right, Q, thanks for having me on.
All right, there you have it, our guy, Lloyd Vance. Excellent stuff as always. Hey, don't forget, we are brought to you by our wonderful friends down there, and hopefully they're okay, Stuart, Florida, our wonderful friends at Zen Auto Concepts. They got a ton of services from paint protection, clear body detailing. They offer great cost-effective packages. They got the Q&A on their website. You can give them a holler at 772-463-8500. They were voted the #1 detailing shop in all of Florida. They are open 6 days a week. You can go online, zenautoconcepts.com, get a quote, follow them on social media as well. Located 4109 Southeast Commerce Avenue, Stuart, Florida. Also, I got a lot of family and friends that have been tuning in down in Florida. Everyone, as we mentioned, be safe, be sound. If you're following us, CSN Florida, on X, and you check out some of the other accounts like the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, they'll give you some updates as well. Barrier Islands are going to remain closed today, September 27th. Some updates in Clearwater. So just be careful and stay off the bridges. Just, watch a little Netflix, tune us in, watch on demand, whatever, but just keep it very safe with a lot of the bad weather that is in the remnants, really, of you guys just getting hammered down there. All right. I know we're fast approaching the 5 o'clock hour. I want to get to some more comments on Facebook. We'll open up 727-858-6650. I want to remind you, Q's picks from our good friends over at Play It Again Sports. We'll do that at 5:45. And of course, our 5 are brought to you by Fresh Roasted Coffee. If you guys have listened to me, I love to drink coffee. They put together some wonderful different flavors. The affiliate link will always be on my YouTube channel, and you can use the promo code BYP20, and you can save 20% off your first purchase. Incredible Shrinking Hermano, how are you before we hit the 5 o'clock hour? You don't even need to tell us that. You just switch on. You switch on whenever you want, my friend. We can go to commercial, and then we can get your there's my guy right there. How are you, my friend?
Pardon me. Good. Just looking as you guys were on the local updates, as it's a mess down here, and it makes me laugh where people get upset because they can't either do the beach or they can put out the kayak or something else. Like we just went through a Cat 4 less than 24 hours ago, and you guys already, and it's Florida. I get it. I live here, so I get it. But it's like, you have no idea what's in the water right now. We had fish swimming up Bayshore Boulevard because they were placed out of the water. Yeah. So, not entirely back in the sports frame of mind, because checking out our neighbors too to make sure they were fine and stuff. But thankfully the family's okay, which is most important. Some people decided to venture out on their own last night when they shouldn't have, and unfortunately they paid their life because of it. And then you have folks, listen, to each his own. I get it, whatever. You want to believe what people tell you to believe, but you also have folks who bought these electric vehicles, low-lying areas, and they made it more than the obvious the last 2 days. Do not park your electric vehicles in a low-lying area because the water and the batteries don't like to mix. And there must have been about 15 homes already that have gone up in flames because of people and their electric vehicles. They left them in there. Water rose over 4 feet inside their house. And then the one house on Davis Island, which most of those houses over there are $1 million plus. And the only thing that was left was the outside cement portion of the house. Everything else was disintegrated because they also had an electric vehicle parked in the garage. So you got to really think about that. When you're down here in Florida, electric vehicles really don't mix a lot. Even when it was Hurricane Debbie, when she came through, it was the same way. People who had low-lying areas bought their electric vehicles, and so they survived the hurricane, but blew their house up.
I was reading last night, I think it was before I text you to check in to see how you were, that, and correct me if I'm wrong, was it the sheriff of Pinellas County? But he was saying one of the sheriffs or one of the mayors, someone, I forget the jurisdiction, if you're not leaving, if you want to stay and you don't want to evacuate, then get a permanent marker and put your name on your arm or your leg. If you have pets and animals, if you have any information that's vital, let us know. Wow.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, when you first hear that, you're like, man, you know, the nerve of somebody to say something like that. But it only, what it does is it highlights or exemplifies just what's going on down where you guys are.
Yeah, because again, you tell people it's like standing in front of a person, tell them, "Are you going to leave?" No. What about now? No. How about now? No. What about 5 minutes from now? No. There's some people that just won't leave, and they know that they're only a foot, 2 feet, maybe above the sea level. And like, for example, us down here on the west side of 19, everything got pretty much inundated. I mean, we saw Sam's Beach Bar. I ended up taking a picture of Jim Cantor the other day when he was out there doing the live promo. When he came out, that was up to the rooftop, and Sam's had just rebuilt their restaurant to the point where, there's a lot of stuff that just went to shame. But yeah, no, the sheriffs down here, they don't play around. They'll tell you if you want to stay. Yeah, tag and bag yourself, because that's where it's going to come down to. And thankfully, a lot of people did leave, a lot, which could have been a lot worse. But, you know, of course, the leftover residuals is that they have now no homes to go to because everything has been flooded out or the power has been tripped. And then if there's still, because the power company has no idea, they're trying to get everybody back on. So they throw the switch back up there and they know their water is receding. And then because someone left, you know, a golf cart plugged in or something else.
Yeah, no, it's it's a bad couple of days down there for you guys, and hopefully, like I said, everyone, as much as you can, kind of stay safe and stay sound. You know, we're trying to, you know, lighten the mood a little bit for the next hour plus. But again, it is 5:00 straight up. This is Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, part of Coastal Sports Network, Broad Street South, LLC. The Drive with Q, Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass. We will indeed take you up to 6, a lot more NFL. I want to also open it up. Major League Baseball. We'll do Q's picks at 5:45 and the WNBA. Yeah. I have to air my grievances with the WNBA, and I am, well, you know what? I'm holding it for the other side at 5 on this Friday edition of The Drive with Q.
Yep.
Eye on Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontb.com. Eye on Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, The Game, powered by Eye on Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad. Your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class, let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Call or text the show
at 727-858-6650.
Now, back to Q.
All right, 5 o'clock straight up. 727-858-6650. So we'll get in some baseball. Q's picks at 5:45, but the WNBA. So let me just say this for a minute. I watched enough of it this year to realize a couple things. The league, and this is no disrespect or slight to the players, the league is a joke. It really is. It's a joke. It's a disgrace that they take zero responsibility for anything. They, back your players, protect your players. All this nonsense with the lack of fan control. Even the media coverage. The media coverage. I mean, all the media is doing, some of these goofballs, they just want to continue to piss on Caitlin Clark. That's all they want to do. Then you got to listen to Reese come out and make her claims, and now she's got her podcast and she's getting paid, right? And she is a lightning rod. Angel Reese is a lightning rod. We know that. Everyone knows that. She's the one that came out in June and said, "I'll take the bad guy role."
Mm-hmm.
Right? Does anyone remember that? I'll take the bad guy role if it means continuing to grow women's basketball. Okay. But you also have to be careful when you have certain claims. That's number one. The second thing is, it's absurd. It is such a disgrace by the league and the lack of control when you allow fans to do what they do and spew the nonsense. And I agree with Caitlin Clark. They're not fans. They're friggin' trolls. But think about this. Caitlin Clark, rookie season. Here you go. Single season assist record, single season rookie scoring record, first rookie in WNBA history to record a triple-double, first rookie to record 100 threes in a single season, but yet, we're not allowed to prop her up. But yet, if we do, there's some sort of black or white or racist issue. But yet, everyone wants to kick this gift horse in the mouth. She is the bread and butter of the league. She is driving the revenue, the broadcast, the narrative, the money that's being pumped into the league. And it's almost though if I'm Caitlin Clark, I would say F this league and go play overseas. I would do that. The league does not, the commissioner's clueless, and people look at the league and they look at it as a joke, and it's not fair to the players.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. But you should not allow the racist, the hateful comments. You're allowed to have an opinion, man. You are allowed to have an opinion, okay? But again, you've got the commissioner, Kathy Engelbert. What the hell are you doing? Like, what are you doing? This is your league. Protect the players. Protect your league. But you're going to allow for racist comments? You're going to allow for threats? And you got to have players that are worried about their lives, their livelihood being trolled on social media. Who the hell knows what kind of fans come in those arenas? You're not going to vet every fan. Here's a ticket. Let me scan it. You're good to go. I mean, what do you not want this league to succeed? Do you not want this league to grow? Do you not want these women to flourish? and have careers and livelihoods and get paid accordingly. No. What you're basically doing is just sitting back and you're condoning the behavior. That's all you're doing. As long as a check clears, you're just condoning the behavior. And I have a major problem with that. Get this friggin' woman, get her out as a commissioner. Get her out. What a clown.
Now, you saw Angel Reese's statement, right? She put
I
out
did.
there. So she says, for those who haven't seen it or read it yet, for the past 2 years, this is from Angel Reese. For the past 2 years, the media has benefited from my pain and me being villainized to create a narrative. They allowed this, meaning the media, as she's trying to include everyone. This was beneficial to them. I sometimes share my experience of things that have happened to me, but I've also allowed this to happen to me for way too long, and now other players in this league are dealing with and experiencing the same things. This isn't okay at all. Anything beyond criticism about playing the game we love is wrong. I'm sorry to all the players that have continued to experience the same things I have. This is why I started my podcast, to take my voice back and create the narrative of who I really am. At the end of the day, I don't want an apology, nor do I think this will ever stop being something has to change. Now, very first comment right below what she posted up there 20 hours ago from E-Man, you literally said you would take on the villain role and now you're crying when you're treated like a villain.
Yep.
And there's worse comments than that. That's, and it goes on. It goes on. And it's both men and women who are commenting in there. So it's like you at LSU, right? You wanted all the power, the lights, the glory, the whole 9 yards. And then your head coach, Kim Mulkey, she pretty much thrived on the drama that you were bringing there. Then you didn't show up for a couple games. No one knew. There was all kinds of rumors and speculations out there about what you've done. Now you hate that you created this circus.
Correct.
And now it's like, I'm going to take my voice back. Too late. When you put stuff out there on social media and you create a narrative, that's what people are going to keep running with. Now, for me, I'm smart. What I do is anything I post, I put it on the Rich Quinones. You guys can follow me on the Rich Q at Q, and then everything you see out there is all facts.
Of course, that's a smart play. That's
right.
a very smart play. Listen, you can't cry wolf 1,000 times, right? You don't want the spotlight. You don't want the attention.
Mm-hmm.
And walk back to comments, man. You're doing the pod because Playmakers is paying you.
Yep.
So stop with the bullshit. Stop with the nonsense. I don't want to hear this shit. I don't. Now, listen, if you're being trolled and there's racist comments being thrown in your direction, then you know what? You don't deserve that. Nobody deserves that.
Correct.
But if you're going to be cocky and arrogant and you're trolling and you get trolled back and it's all fair, then you have to deal with that. When you start to get into the, inflammatory, the racist, the threat, no, not at all. No, you cannot allow that to happen. But again, it goes to the commissioner. It's a disgrace. Kathy Engelbert, you're a disgrace. You don't give a shit about the players of the league. You don't. You allow fans to go out and troll and bully and harass and racist comments and threaten. You allow that? Get out of that position. Get out of that position. Go put someone in there that gives a damn about these players because she doesn't. She doesn't. It's an embarrassment. It's a joke. It's a joke. And then people want to know why the league is going to struggle, why Caitlin Clark can't just carry the league on her own, even though she's doing the best damn job anyone can expect. And then you got the media where you're going to cram certain narratives down the throat. What is the big deal if you sit there and say Caitlin Clark carried the league?
Right.
Who the hell cares, man? It's a fact. Like, why are people you're doing a disservice to the other? No, we're not. We're acknowledging them. But we're also saying without Caitlin Clark, without this player in the league, I got news for you. Nobody's watching it. Period.
Nope.
Without number 22 for the Fever, nobody gives a shit about the WNBA. But with that being said, because you have some good players The commissioner should embrace that. But instead, they want to push a certain narrative. That's the other thing with some of the media. It's an absolute disgrace, man. Don't cover these sports anymore. Stop. Like ESPN, you're so tone deaf to it. All you want to do is every time someone tries to say Caitlin Clark's great for the league, they want to push back and say there's more players than Caitlin Clark. Are we going to not sit there and say Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's saying, well, there's other quarterbacks. No, man. Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL. Tom Brady was the face of the NFL. LeBron James was the face of the NBA. Michael Jordan was the face of the NBA. Bird and Magic were the face. We're not doing a disservice or discredit to other players. Right now, Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, they're the faces of baseball.
Yep.
It's not being dismissive. It's just a fact because their play justifies that comment. But instead, everyone wants to look at Caitlin Clark, and for some reason that only God knows, they want to piss on this girl every chance they get. And it's a disgrace. It's embarrassing. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
Unbelievable. And listen, for me, I will say this. If players come out, and again, if you want the heat, then take it. Reese likes to play the villain. She wants to play the victim. But if those comments are true, you cannot tolerate that kind of nonsense on social. You can't tolerate these players should be able, black, white, green, yellow, blue, I don't care, should be able to go and play in the game without somebody heckling them or spewing racist comments to them. Okay? So I'm not going to sit there and say, don't cry wolf. What people will see now is that Reese, she wanted to heat earlier, and now in a twisted way, they're going to twist it. And I'm not saying what she's saying is not true. I have no right to say that. I'm not there. I don't believe she would make it up. What I'm saying is before when we were talking about it, no one wanted to bring up the race issue. It was the elephant in the room.
Right.
Certain players not backing Caitlin Clark, but I didn't hear Caitlin Clark make one comment. Like it's just, it's a double-edged sword here, man. And my gripe, my beef is with the commissioner. It's just, she's a disgrace.
See, but before, back in the day, the big thing was that we didn't see social media. Again, it could be good, it could be really bad. Back in the day, what did you end up having? The newspaper. So you can pick it up from the front stoop, bring it inside your house. You can yell, scream, whatever. No one will ever hear you. You can call into your local favorite radio station if you were lucky enough to get through. And then if you did, you want to be a dum-dum on the air, they would just dump the call. Okay, Jeremy in New Jersey, let's go to you. But when people, I don't believe, first of all, no one should
Social media and Twitter have given people that have no balls.
Right. But only because they're tough behind the screen.
Of course. But if you're going to a game, Angel, and you're harassing a player or you're throwing out race, see, when does someone sit there and say, well, you're making millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, you should tolerate it? I mean, honestly, if someone's talking that shit to me, I'm going to have a problem with it. And I'm going to say something back. Like these women, these girls should not, no one for that matter, should have to endure that.
Right. You should, when you go to the game, you're going there because you're a fan, right, you're enjoying the game.
Correct. But the commissioner of the league is not properly protecting the players.
Correct.
Then she needs to go. She needs to go.
See, unless and we're not saying that she is, unless she has kind of a sly and she's like, you know what, I'll condone it. Why not? But my thing is, I'm the same way with you. You don't go. Charles Barkley used to talk about when he was in Philly, how much he used to get heckled. Now, granted, of course, they weren't calling Charles racist names either, but he would get heckled about his game. Now, at the same point, you cannot go to, I don't care if it's hockey. Don't go there with any kind of racial epithets because it just doesn't make any sense. You want to talk about the game like, oh my God, like, whatever. You can say whatever else is on your mind, but once you start like just that personal attack, and that person, Angel Reese has never done anything to me, so I'm not going to go on a personal attack on Angel Reese. You put out there that you want to be the villain, you want to take on the villain role, then there's certain things that are going to come your way. but I'm also not condoning that people should not be racist towards you. My thing is that you go there as a fan, you enjoy your game. If you want to say whatever you want, get off your chest. Sure, have we booed in Philly tons of times, but don't say something racist towards somebody just because you feel a certain way.
We're never ever going to get rid of it. Period. Is my point. Like, no matter what, it's never. We're not. People are going to say what they're going to say, no matter what. But again, it doesn't give the right. And when you have the commissioner who's then comparing when Bird and Magic came into the league because they saved the NBA and how rivalries are good for the league, viewership, and business, it's not going to sit well with players. It's not, because it's not about rivalries. And you're talking about iconic NBA players, personalities that fit the narrative, that fueled the business model. It's what you're saying is basically, it's like it comes off in a way where that's not what you're trying to push, right? There's a difference between having a rivalry and talking trash. And then there's, then you get to this fine line of, you want that divide.
Mm-hmm.
You want that divide. Like nobody what is she saying? Bird and Magic, the last time I checked, one was black, the other was white. Like, where are we going with this? I just feel as though she's ill-equipped to be a commissioner. I don't believe she has the player's best interest in heart. I think she's creating this false narrative, to be quite honest. And I think her credibility is shot to shit. When you're talking about fan behavior, okay, and we've seen it. You got idiots and assholes that just, you got grown men that are wearing jerseys that want to fight. Like, get a fucking life. It's a game. It's not the end of the world. Grow the fuck up, right? Seriously, you want to paint your face, do whatever. The other shit, stop. It's just loserville, man. Like, get a life.
Yeah.
When you have the commissioner who, again, is not condoning racism, but she obviously can't articulate that when she's on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, she's talking about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and the, quote, dark side of social media, right? So now you're pivoting to Magic and Bird, black and white, rivalries that are good for the sport. Okay, here you go. No, because that is a very what? When you sit there and you start to go black and white, what our country is dealing with right now, doesn't matter who the hell is in friggin' office as we speak, that is a divisive comment. It is. That is you don't need to say it, but it's being said. And we already have enough of that going on in this country. We have enough of that going on in this world. So now you're setting it up where, oh, wait a second, we're going to start to play both sides here. That's a decisive statement and a derisive comment. And it's just a bad analogy. It is. Because now you're allowing toxic behavior. What people don't like is the uncomfortable conversation. They don't. And what I've tried to convey for years of being on the air, that a uncomfortable conversation is a good conversation. It's a good conversation. The elephant in the room was, why are Caitlin Clark's teammates not protecting her? That was the argument in the room, right? She's a white player. She's got black teammates. Why are they not coming back to her? Is a black teammate supporting another black teammate? Is a white teammate supporting another white teammate? Your teammates, white, yellow, black, protect each other, defend each other, right? That was my gripe. That was why are you letting this kid get knocked on her ass and you're not helping up her hand? You're not picking her back up. I don't care if it's a black player. But I felt like the league and certain teams and players and the media, they wanted to make a statement where we're going to ice this kid out. Well, why are you going to do that? Because she's a cash cow? Like, that is what bothered me the most. I'm not talking about Kobe Bryant getting iced out in the All-Star game as a rookie. I'm not talking about Isaiah Thomas getting bumped on the Olympic team because he didn't get along with Jordan. Chuck Daly decided we're going a different direction. You're talking about a young girl who's a hell of a player that's going to put fannies in the seats. And yet you're figuring out a way, you're trying to find a way to not push that, celebrate it, promote that. What's the reason behind it? But nobody wants to talk about the reason behind it because no one's ever going to know, or it's just too uncomfortable for people. And then you have the commissioner come out and she says what she says, and it's almost like, okay, like, where are we going with this? If that's how you really feel, and then you're going to allow, like, if you say that and then you're going to allow for that type of behavior, I'm not saying you're stoking the fire, but you're allowing, and I'm not going to say condone it either because that's not right. That's not fair. I just feel that there's a poor choice of words. I want to get to a couple comments. 727-858-6650. Let's go to that third one from Vince. Their point is that maybe you didn't watch before Caitlin, but they were there and will be there. People watch the NFL with or without Mahomes. Yeah, but point being is, there's always that face of a league, right? That was kind of my point. There's always a face of the league no matter what, and you can't get around it. And the face of these leagues, they drive the traffic. They put fannies in the seats. They help the revenues, the jerseys. Listen, there's a reason these teams are on primetime. There's a reason they highlight teams like the Chiefs, right? There's a reason they highlight the Yankees and the Pinstripes and Aaron Judge, or now the Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani, because they know you're going to watch the eyeballs. And in turn, what does that help with? Advertising, revenue dollars. It's cynical. It's just how it is. But you have these leagues. You want to promote these leagues. I feel the league and some of these players, even some of the former players, they're so petty. It's like they think right away that people forgot what their careers were. You don't see that. It's pettiness. No one's saying, hey, Rebecca Lobo, you didn't have a great career. Diana Taurasi, you didn't have a great career. Cheryl Swoops, you didn't have a great career. No one's saying that. No one's taking your resume and ripping it. Your resume and your body of work, your legacy on the court is exactly it. It's your legacy. No one's erasing that. But yet I feel as though when you get into the Clark conversation, it's just for some reason they want to hate this kid. They want to hate this kid. And then you have fuel to the fire by what the commissioner says. And it's just, I don't know. I feel as though there's pettiness. I feel as though this league is not properly run. I think if you got someone in there that really got it and understood, what the league was about and how to protect these players and how to grow it organically. Because if Caitlin Clark decides tomorrow I'm playing in Europe, the league is screwed. They're done. They're screwed. They're screwed. They're screwed. The numbers speak for themselves. I mean, did you see the eyeballs? Did you see the attendance? It's ridiculous.
Yep.
It's utterly ridiculous. And like I said, the viewership soared. It soared. Attendance hit more than a 2-decade high. You going to tell me that has nothing to do with number 22? Or are you going to feed me this line of bullshit? Well, it's the other players in the... No, it's not. The league, it grew. If you look at the attendance, the WNBA game attendance hit its highest level in 22 years, which is 50% from 2023. There were 154 sellout games during the year, more than triple the 45 sellouts in 2023. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't have to do with other players, but 99.999% has to do with number 22. Okay? And again, the commissioner's like capital, 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 because that's all she gives a shit about. That's it. That's it. And you look at the Fever's attendance records, you had double-digit year-over-year increases in attendance. right? The Fever had more than a fourfold jump, significantly more than the Sparks, who had a 69% growth, which was second according to the league. I mean, what does that equal? Media rights, which can be in the millions, billions of dollars. Okay. Ad rights, revenue sharing, merchant, everything. I don't know. It's just sometimes people look at something and you don't realize what you have in front of you. You just don't. And you can take a really good thing and just screw it up because of something you said and by your actions. So, all right, 5:30. That's the rant for the Friday. On a what the frig. That's a what the frig. What the frig is this woman still doing as commissioner? 5:30 on a Friday edition of The Drive with Q. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up. Little baseball on the other side. Q's picks at 5:45. You out there as well. 727-858-6650. Quickie timeout. We'll come back on the other side.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have any body to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Don't forget to get social with us. Follow Q at RichQ on Q. And now, back to Q.
All right, we'll take up to 6. Steve on Facebook chimes in. Q, I really loved that no call last time on Face Mask. Ha ha ha. Yeah, that was brutal. That was an absolutely. Uh-oh, what happened here? Do we have to refresh?
Why?
I don't see myself. I see a fade to black screen.
I don't know why, because I see you. Wait a minute. let me switch screens for a second. Maybe you'll come back. Kind of like instant presto.
727-858-6650.
No, I'll bring up Lloyd. Swap you back and let's see. Can you see yourself now?
But let me ask you a question. We don't need to play by play from you.
All right, listen.
We don't need to blow by blow. Just do what you do best.
All right,
handle it.
Hey, I don't know, because then if you lose the audio, I'm like, oh, we lost the audio.
No, if we lost the audio, then we flip to pigeons. That's a sign. If audio is out, we go to this.
Apparently.
No, well, hey, by the way, 2 players ruled out for the Bucks, Winfield and Cansey, which is interesting because I thought maybe they were going to put Cansey on the IR. So 2 losses right there for the Bucks. Yes, Angel, go ahead.
And Devontae Adams, as you're talking about players, is also out. And I forgot too, there was 2 of them, but the Raiders will also be out as well. But I want to get back to your original start of the show. I picked your G-men because they should have beaten the Cowboys, and they let me down, 20-15.
Yeah, well, that was your first mistake.
Gee, thanks. Appreciate it.
I mean, I
know. I should.
I told you I thought the game was going to be competitive. I thought they were going to play much better. I didn't think they were going to win the game. They're not a good team. I just
neither is Dallas, like you said.
Yeah, but correct. But Dallas is own. But the Giants are worse.
Yeah, they gotta.
No, not the Giants are worse.
Hey,
the Giants are. No, I don't want to hear.
I was trying to go with the G-men because I picked Dallas, even though I normally never pick Dallas. But the one time I decided to, they got friggin' blown away by New Orleans. And so that's it. I'm done picking friggin' Dallas. I don't care. I will lose my fantasy teams just so I can go with the polar opposite of that friggin' blue star.
That's fair enough. Suzanne on Facebook chimes in. Q, an extremely passionate speech and rant on the WNBA. I agree with everything you're saying. Let us not be derisive when we have these conversations, but to your point, the commissioner feels as though she's only in it for the money. And you mentioned it's all about the broadcasting rights. Number 22 is the league. People just need to get over it, but very impassioned and passionate speech by you, enjoying the show. I appreciate that as well. Mary chiming in Fort Dix, New Jersey. Q, giving a little love to the girls, the hoops players, WNBA. Yes, I'm a big fan of Caitlin Clark. I'm also a fan of Reese as well. I think rivalries are good for the league, and I don't like when people are making them a black and white issue. I'm not saying that you are the elephant in the room. We always talk about it, but sometimes we're afraid to talk about it. But I think in this instance, we need to talk about it. Wow. I mean, that one, I'm like, all right, that's a head spinner, but I appreciate the kind words and the comment. Sometimes you're like, all right, let me just do, what was the movie? My head starts to spin around, The Exorcist, right?
Yeah. By the way, ladies and anybody, for that matter, call or text into the show, 727-858-6650. But no, that was a good comment. But again, we'll see what the commission's going to end up doing. I mean, they're trying to expand. What was it? Portland just got an expansion team, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen if it keeps growing? Then what? You're going to have the same problem recreated in another state?
No, that's not. I don't think that's it. I think what we have is you've got a situation where this commissioner is seeing green. That's the color she's seeing. She's seeing green.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, shit, we're on to something. Right? Art in Philly, Q, I think it's pretty clear that what we're witnessing in basketball is the most impactful player in this generation. She's not only captivated me as a fan, but not just for women's basketball, but for sports when it comes to female sports. Excellent show. Art, appreciate that. I think so. But I also think that I don't know, man. I just feel like there's just personal vendetta against this kid. And all she can do is just go out and ball and play. And as far as the other stuff, you got to protect the players. You have to do right by the players, because if the players decide we're not going to tolerate this, we're not going to deal with this, we'll go play somewhere else, we'll go formulate another league, or we'll go play in Europe somewhere, then you lose your cash cow. That's all. That's all I'm saying. And I don't feel as though this commissioner, you look at Manfred in baseball, I wanted to get into that too for a moment. It really stinks that the A's have to move. It does, man, because if you are a purist, if you are a baseball fan like me, and you remember back in the heyday, and I'm not talking about, with the A's in the 70s and the Reggie Jackson and Gene Tennis and the Catfish Hunters, and then of course, the Bass brothers and Canseco and McGuire and those great runs that they had in the 70s and the 80s. I mean, that is a great, Billy Bean baseball, Moneyball, all that. It's for what? Like, you're moving them what? You're moving them to go play in a minor league stadium? That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. The A's are a great baseball franchise. Now, they haven't been good over the last several years. I get it. I understand it. But man, you got to say goodbye to that stadium. Talking about 57 years. And I'm not even talking about what's next for the Oakland Coliseum, but it's like, all right, is this the owner should be blamed as well, but baseball enabled this. But again, no one wants to talk about that. Baseball enabled this. The commissioner enabled this. And that's an issue, man. That's a real bad issue. I mean, you can't, and wasn't lack for trying. It wasn't. It wasn't a lack for trying. I mean, I feel there's so much collateral damage here, and at the end, the players lose out, the fans lose out, and it sucks. It really does. But you've got another goofy commissioner in baseball, and you have enablers that let the Athletics down. They really did. And man, I'll tell you, it's tough to watch, man, because you're talking 57 years. That's a good fan base. That's a loyal fan base. That's a great spot to watch a baseball game. And now, no more. And for what? Right? And for what? So we can move them into a minor league stadium?
And then eventually to Vegas.
Exactly.
The only good thing that I liked, at least, that even though it was the last game and it was a day game, I do like that they actually packed the house.
Of course they are, because they know those tickets were going to be hot. I love how they were putting dirt in the bottle, but all you had to do was invest in the team. That's it. You got a greedy billionaire. You got baseball that's basically back in this. You got a commissioner. Yeah, we're all for it. Why? So you can move the team, as you mentioned, minor league park, and then go to Vegas. Here we go. Go to Vegas. Yeah, I'm just so turned off by that, man. I feel bad for the fans.
Yeah,
I mean, but I don't need my owner to sit there, Angel, and say I care about the team and the fans. That's a crock of shit.
Yeah, no, you can't, because your base. You gave up. I mean, first of all, the whole city of Oakland has given up on every major league.
Baseball couldn't have helped them out. Baseball couldn't have financially helped them out. Is that what people are telling me?
Why? Manfred just sees that he's like the commissioner of the WNBA. It's the same way. All he's seen is dollar signs. That's all he's seeing. So I moved him to Vegas. I get more glitz and glamour out of Vegas. The same way. When you look at it, LeBron retires, what's going to do? Create an NBA team out in Vegas. That's what he's trying to do anyways. So it's the same way. Baseball could have done something about it. They should have stepped in, because they know that Oakland fans are loyal. Even this generation were loyal. But it's easier just to say, now we're going to go to this cute little minor league ballpark, and we'll wait to see what's going to happen in Vegas, where they're going to actually make this, this new stadium and so on and so forth. But again, everybody is just abandoning Oakland. Oakland is just going to become like those bar doors in the Midwest, out in the West, when it would just, you walk through it. That's all it's going to be in Oakland. That's
like pennies. Remember pennies?
Yeah.
They don't have pennies anymore.
No, just like Kmart. Look, Kmart was
strip malls done. Think of the past.
Oh yeah, there's one here in Newport Richie it's a shame. You can tell that it's like mold. We don't care. No one's coming here anymore. There might be like a handful of stores that are open, but yeah, malls are done. The only thing that's saving, and they're not really the one over by the airport, by Tampa International Mall. That one, it still has a lot of people, only because it's at the right place, tons of universities and stuff that's there. But other places, they don't care for freaking malls anymore, because it wasn't like when we were growing up. That was the thing that used to be like the hangout. You go to the mall, hang out.
That and the skating alley, man. Roller skating, backwards to disco duck, right? Donald Duck.
And the couples only,
couples only, right? Stand there and have your little cup of soda and your little popcorn, and you know what? Wait for the parents to pick you up in front of everyone. That's always embarrassing. By the way, it's going to be a ridiculous weekend in baseball. Yankees clinched the AL East. Baltimore finally clinched. Cleveland clinched the Central. The Houston Astros, I would not want to face them. You got the Phillies in the NL East, and then you got the poor Mets. I mean, a lot of people are saying the Mets are getting screwed here with the weather. Hey, man, it is what it is. Go out and win the freaking games. You got the double dip. I put up this scenario. This is crazy. Listen to this. So this is... So how about this wrinkle? if the Mets sweep the Braves, if the Mets sweep the Brewers, and the Padres won just one game against Arizona, the Mets would be in, but home field advantage would still be in play. They can sweep a doubleheader, and then they would have to force San Diego to fly to Citi Field. That's crazy. That's why if you are a baseball fan, you have to want to watch what's going on this weekend in baseball. You have to say to yourself, this is going to be a ridiculous, crazy weekend. I feel bad if the Met fan might get tortured.
Yeah. Well, it's like the
as a
NFL.
Yankees fan, I don't feel bad, but I do feel bad because some of my friends are Met fans and they are beside themselves. They're like, oh my God, they embrace it, man. Embrace the double dip on Monday, 110, then 440. Oh, if they lose and they don't get in. Oh.
And wasn't the Mets just not too long ago saying how much they want to spend stupid money, unlike the Phillies? And the Phillies said the same thing, but they were like,
the owner's been saying that for years. And it also shows you once again in baseball, you can spend all the money you want. You can have the highest paid payroll. It doesn't mean diddly.
Sure
Did that years ago in Moneyball, even though they couldn't get past, the Yankees in the playoffs. So, all right, 5:45. Quick timeout when we come back. Q's Picks, powered by our good friends over at Play It Again Sports. I'm feeling a 5 for 5 weekend. I remind everyone, we are powered by Play It Again Sports, 1450 Clemens Bridge Road in Deptford, New Jersey. Your one-stop shop for all used sports equipment and more. Labor Day has come and gone, but they still have good merchandise, tees, baseball bats, gloves, hats, cleats, golf equipment, clubs, balls, and drivers, and more. 1450 Clemens Bridge Road in Deptford, New Jersey. Quick timeout. Q's Picks on the other side.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
$5:47 on a Football Friday edition of The Drive with Q, Week 4. In a league where the players always back their play. All right, let's get into it. I feel like I have a good weekend in football. I feel like I have a good week coming up. All right. Game number 1. We got the Vikings and do we have the music?
Yes, it's playing.
Well, I don't hear it again, but that's okay. We have the no need. I heard it before. We have I don't know what to tell you. It was there and it's gone just like the weather. There we go.
You got to speak up because if I crank it up, that means that you got to speak up even louder.
Right. Yeah. Maybe it's all right. Perfect. You guys are in and out, fade. All right, game number 1. We got to get through this. Vikings and Green Bay. I think the Vikings are legit. I know Love is banged up. I see that line. Vikings are getting 3. I'm a big believer in Sammy slinging Darnold. I'm going to go with the Vikings and the points. Game number 2. And this was a tough one, man. Washington, Arizona. I think this is going to be an entertaining game. This is my look but don't touch version of Q's Picks, but I do like the over in this one. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think both offenses are going to put together some points. This can be kind of one of these, both quarterbacks are throwing for over 300 yards. Right now, the total is at 47, 48. I saw some books 48.5. If it drops to 47 or sits at 48, I'm going to play the over for game number 2. Denver on the road against the Jets. I actually think Denver keeps this game annoyingly close heading into the fourth quarter. I really do. The Jets are not 7.5 point against anyone, even if it's the Denver Broncos. So I'm going to turn around. I'm going to take Denver plus 7.5 for game number 3. Game number 4, Buffalo and the Ravens. Might be the game of the weekend. That'll be an 8:20 Sunday night football. Bills are cooking 3-0. Allen doing everything. They can run the football. The Ravens can run the football. Something's got to give. Baltimore 2.5 at home. I'm a believer in the Bills right now, and as well as Josh Allen in that ground game is going. They continue that Sunday night against Baltimore. Give me the Bills plus 2.5. Game number 5, Monday Night Football, the double dip. Not a fan of it. Lions, Seattle. Lions 3.5. Total is 45.5. I don't trust Geno Smith and Seattle to go point for point. I think Detroit pulls away offensively. I think this can be a 28-point output, if you will, kind of a 28-24 Detroit win, which means they're going to cover the number. Give me 31-24. I'm a little more comfortable with that 7. So those are your 5. Give me the Lions at home, 3.5. Give me Buffalo getting 2.5, maybe 3 when it's all said and done. The over, I shade it off to Washington and the Cardinals, 48.5. And then, as I mentioned, the Jets, I love Denver in that spot, 7.5. And then Minnesota. Those are your Q's picks for week 4 in the NFL. And by the way, I don't know why it keeps coming in and out, in and out, in and out. It's like a hit or miss, in and out, in and out, in and out. By the way, I went with a lot of, if you noticed a trend this week, yes. Minnesota, Denver, Buffalo. I'm kind of leaning towards these road dogs. And the road dogs have been very popular, and they've been hitting at a really nice clip in the 1 o'clock spot. So I'm going to go the road favorites. Eagles in Tampa Bay. I do like the Eagles in the spot, even if Brown doesn't go. No Smith. We don't know about Johnson. I think this is a game where, again, the defense keeps building that momentum, and they turn over Baker Mayfield a couple times. Yes, what were you going to say about the music?
No, with the music, because you got to remember too, is that with headphones, it makes a little bit of a difference, but not saying that it's because of your audio. It's just, there's parts of the music where it'll actually dip down and then it comes up because it has that soft symphony orchestra thing going.
Well, fire it off at regular. Fire it off right now. Let me see something. Test it right now.
Hold on, because I got to crank it back up because I faded it out as we were
clear. Grave danger. Am I clear? Is there any other kind?
There sure isn't. Hold on. Let me fire back up. Let me
there
find
is
it.
no Markinson. Markinson's a ghost. Do you know what he did? 20 years counterintelligence. There is no Markinson.
Here we go.
Game number 1, game number 2, game number 3. Now, here. Like the forward.
Frozen tundra. And this is where I start to get down because of the part of the music. Right here.
Frozen tundra of Lambeau Field.
See, it gets really low there.
I might get a pass on this one.
Now, it's got nothing to do with me because that's the recording and the way it came off. It did sound really low, and then it amps right back up again. I don't hear you. I don't think you muted yourself. Yes, you sure did. I thought you. I can't hear you. Jeez. See, I try to save them, folks. This is what happens. I try to save them, and then I get razzed. That's what happens. He'll be back in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1-ish, and he pops back into the screen here.
Yeah. All right. Now I'm good. I got you. All right. Couple minutes before we get out of here. A couple other games.
Hold on. Because I want to get to the second one now. When it comes to Buffalo, you don't think the Ravens can pull it out?
No, I mean, I can think they can pull it out. I mean, if Buffalo stops their ground game, you're going to put a lot of pressure on Lamar Jackson. Buffalo right now is rolling, man. They're scoring a lot of points, 34, 31. They put up 47 against Jacksonville. I know it's a bad Jacksonville team, but still, Baltimore, they've kept some games close. I'm just a fan of Josh Allen. That if Buffalo wins, if they go on the road and beat Baltimore, then I might move them in my power rankings, depending upon what happens with Kansas City and the Chargers.
See, you're making me second guess now. The pick that I picked the Ravens and I picked the Jets.
Then you have to stick with you have to back your play. You got to believe in your convictions. You have to stick with your picks.
I also believed in the Giants and it let me down. Moving on.
Well, again, no one told you to go with the Giants. Okay.
I can't stand freaking Dallas, but whatever. I guess I could.
Oh, well, that's see, there you go.
I know.
That's your problem right there. You literally made a bet based on what?
No, truthfully,
No. Whoa, dig me. You made a bet based on what? Emotion.
No. Originally, no, I picked the Giants because I figured the way Dallas has been playing as of late, and the Giants aren't. I mean, I know they're bad, but it didn't seem like they're going to be. Listen, it was only by 5. It could have been a possibility. Could have, got away with the outcome. But I did admit I went with Dallas against New Orleans, and then New Orleans went to Dallas and beat the crap out of them. So
your excuse, you're so full of it. Estás meniata. You are lying to me. What is your last name? Hancock. Hancock sounds like a bird. I might have to watch that tonight, even though I got to prep for the fight. Oh, I will, shameless plug, tomorrow night in Philly, 2300 Arena. Very good card. You can actually purchase it on BXNG TV, but really good local card, some really good fighters. If you are a boxing fan, I will tell you this card tomorrow night, I'll be calling it ringside, inside 2300 Arena. But there are a couple fighters. Liana Cruz is actually one of the best super bantamweights out there, female fighter. She's fantastic. She's 8-0 from Allentown. That's a name to watch. Haven Bradley Jr., 13-0. The kid's from Georgia, super featherweight, highly ranked. I think he's in the top 10. And then I believe Jeremy Cuevas is also fighting, who's a Philly kid, 15-2. Very good looking fighter. So that's a really good card tomorrow night. And the reason I bring it up is because the promoter, it's a dual promotion. Brian Cohen, who manages a lot of female fighters over the years, was a fighter in his own right. He is married to Kaylee Reese. Kaylee Reese, K.O. Reese, Kaylee Reese. If you follow the sport, you'll know two things. She is a former world champ in 2 weight classes, and she was also nominated for an Emmy Award because she was in season 4 of True Detective with Jodie Foster.
Okay. You know what this is making me feel like? The only thing that's left is, and then, Reese was Kevin Bacon's double.
Oh, I can connect them.
Okay.
Well, I'm all right. I'll connect her to Kevin Bacon right now. If we know she was in True Detective with Jodie Foster, then all we have to, that's an easy fix. I can do that in friggin' 3 steps. Who would like to see Mr. Quinones do it? You would? I got it. In 3 steps right now? Okay, fine. Yes, you in the back? Wedding season? You want me to do it right now? I can do that. She was in, so Jodie Foster. Oh, I love shining like this. I really do. I just feel like the gods are smiling on me when it comes to this. Jodie Foster, I believe she won an Academy Award for her role as the rape victim in the movie Accused.
I believe you're correct.
Okay, and I also believe that movie was 1988. 1988, 1987, 1988. I believe she also, did she win something for The Silence of Lambs? But anyway.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. She was also, when she was in that movie, one of her co-stars was none other none other than Kelly McGillis, who, as we know, was the hot instructor in the movie Top Gun, which starred Tom Cruise, who was in A Few Good Men with
Kevin Bacon. I have to, draw a clip of it over the weekend when you're pointing on the other side of your camera. They're telling you in the back.
Yes, you. There you go.
You know what else?
Yeah.
It reminded me too when you get to the very end of it. Remember that my big fat Greek wedding? Yeah, when he was always about and there you go, the Greek word.
The Greek apple comes from the Greek word meaning Apollonia, which also means fruit, forbidden fruit. So we invented the apple, and then
yep, with the Windex.
Eat something. I'm fine. Eat. All right. Got to start.
Who says you don't have comedy around here?
Hey, listen, if we gave a couple laughs, that was a good movie. That was a good movie. I started The Stranger on Netflix.
What's that one?
It's about a stranger that just basically starts sharing secrets about people. I'm three episodes in. I got my work cut out for me.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Oh, I finished Dark Winds. Fantastic.
Was it?
Yeah, it was really, really good. And then someone recommended as we hit 6:00, they recommended.
Have you seen it? Have you started is it the Menendez brothers?
No, it looks cheesy.
Does it?
It looks cheesy. I was I might have to I might have to watch just to laugh. I was recommended The Accident.
Well, I don't think I ran across that one yet.
Yeah, The Accident. So, and I also was so bored the other day, I started to watch. Well, I shouldn't say bored. It's just my sleeping habits because I am very busy. But I started to watch my Turkish drama. It only lasted 2 seasons. But you know how many episodes there were?
35? More? Holy crap. We got about 50?
164 episodes.
Good Lord. Jeez,
it took me a year. It took me over a year to watch.
Good God.
I used to have to block out time. When I was working overnights, I'm like, all right, 2:00 in the morning to 5. I got 3 hours. Let me bang it. Yeah, Turkish dramas are long-winded. Yeah, but it was a good show. I enjoyed it. All right, 6:00 straight up. We got to start wrapping it up. Good stuff from Lloyd Vance. You can catch him every Monday, 8 to 9 on Lloyd Vance's Inside of Football and Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game. Do not forget, check out the week of content and programming. Start the week off with Pete Shepard Show, 7 to 10. Monday to Friday, Martinez and Company with mi hermano Angel Martinez, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 12. Myself, The Drive with Q, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 4 to 6. Did you tweet out the new show as well?
Yep, Beeves World. That would be Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 to 8 p.m., followed by Lloyd Vance on Mondays from 8 to 9:15 p.m., followed by Talking Hoops on Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. And then Jay will join me on Friday mornings at 11 o'clock. And there may be somebody else joining in a little bit, but we'll see as people are starting to grow.
All right. Well, that's what she said. All right, 6:00 straight up. People are starting to grow. Network's starting to grow. 6:00 straight up. Good stuff with the eyeballs and the viewership. We always appreciate you guys. We have been, of course, The Drive with Q from 4 to 6 right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, powered by Ion TV, Coastal Sports Network, part of Broad Street South LLC. And as always, our home, 102.9 FM, The Game. Appreciate HSRN, the audience as well, for you guys hitting me up on Facebook. My friend, be safe this weekend. Stay hunkered down, and hopefully in a day or two, everything will not right away get back to normalcy. But for everyone that tunes in down in Southwest Florida, just be safe. And if you have to go out, just hopefully you don't have to go out, but just be safe and sound. We will be back on a Monday. Everyone have a wonderful sports weekend. Reminder, tomorrow inside the 2300 Arena, first bell, 7 o'clock. You can catch the PPV on BXNG TV. With that, I'm Rich Quinones. Hope you enjoyed this edition of The Drive with Q right here on Sports Radio 1029 FM The Game. Have a wonderful Sports Friday. Enjoy your sports weekend, baseball, and of course, everything going on with the NFL, college football. We'll recap everything on Monday at 4 o'clock. With that being said, be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, buen día.